This is a fantastic question and a good excuse for me to prop up my partner, Hallelujah Scriptures. For those of you that are new to Torah or have difficulty finding the laws that are applicable to you, Hallelujah Scriptures has a very good reference book I want to show you. It's called the Torah of Yahweh, and there's a link in my bio for Hallelujah Scriptures. You can go on over to their website and you can pick up a copy for real cheap. But this is basically a quick reference guide to all the laws in the Torah. And it breaks it into nice chapters for you. I do want to put out my one caveat statement though. I don't necessarily agree with every interpretation they have for the laws in here. As a whole, it's very good, worth owning, and will help you for sure. But let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So right here they have the Sabbath laws. Let's go over and look at some of those. Now right here they have all their references for where they got their interpretations. But for instance, they put rest, do not work right here. I do agree that it's a day of rest and that we should rest in God and rest in our Messiah, but they should specify that this is servile work, meaning your job, something you make money for doing. They also reference Exodus 16 here for staying in your place and not cooking. Now, I'm not going to go too deep down the rabbit hole on this one, but I have read all the scriptures and I have heard all the arguments, and personally I disagree with them. If you read Exodus, it was a continuous escalation because they kept refusing to do what God asked. He says, keep my Sabbath. They didn't keep his Sabbath. So he said, stay in your place like little children, like he was putting them in timeout. And when it comes to not cooking, I disagree with that one as well. In my opinion, there's multiple ways to interpret that verse. They didn't have refrigerators or crock pots or microwaves back then, which are all the appliances people use to kind of skirt the no cooking rule that people have. But in Leviticus 23, the Sabbath is listed under feast days. How can you have a feast if you don't cook? I don't think God wanted us to eat cold finger foods on his Sabbath day. It's a foreshadow of the millennial reign with Christ. Are we not going to cook when we're with Christ? Are we not going to feast with Christ? Is it not going to be the most joyous, peaceful time that ever existed in all of human history? It appears that some laws God added because of transgressions, because of willful disobedience. And I also believe some people are taking out of context things like the no cooking rule. But that's my personal opinion. If you feel convicted not to cook on Sabbath, or if maybe you cook for a living, then don't do it. Personally, I find enjoyment in cooking. I think if you were going to have a giant feast on a Sabbath, like a Thanksgiving Sabbath almost, you should do all your prep work the day before to minimize what you have to do on the Sabbath so that you can spend time with the Father and with the Messiah. But if you want to cook spaghetti on Sabbath or make a sandwich, I don't see how that would be breaking any of the laws for Sabbath. But again, this is my opinion of the scriptures and my interpretation of them. So if you disagree with me, that's okay. I just say don't condemn people when there are other ways to look at the scriptures. And if you're curious about what you can and can't do on the Sabbath, then I suggest you go over to Parable of the Vineyard on YouTube and look up their how-to Sabbath video. It's a very good video, and I agree with it as a whole. And I also believe that you don't have to stay cooped up in your house and not turn on any lights for Sabbath. I think you can go places. I just don't think you should buy anything when you go there. And you shouldn't take a long enough journey that it would be a burden or that you would have to stop and buy something. But for instance, every Sabbath, me and my wife go down and visit my grandma. She lives 45 minutes south of me. Some people would interpret that to mean you can't leave your house to go visit your grandma on Sabbath, and I just completely disagree. But again, this is my interpretation. You don't necessarily have to agree or disagree with me. But back to the original point, this book right here is a very good reference book as a whole and helps you pick out some of the laws and where they are. And then you can find these laws for Sabbath and you can look over them and you can say, okay, how can I interpret these scriptures? Or how do I interpret this one? At the very least, it's a good reference to help you find where certain laws are in the Torah. I believe everyone should own one of these books, especially if you are brand new to Torah. Again, this is made by Hallelujah Scriptures, and there's a link in my link tree on YouTube and TikTok for their website, so you can go over and pick up a copy for yourself. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up. I'd be more than happy to chat with you about stuff. And you can always send me an email. My email is on my link on TikTok and in YouTube. If you're struggling with how to interpret certain commandments in the Torah, I'll do my best to give you my 2 cents. Again, when it comes down to certain things, we do have to defer to our opinions based on our study of the scriptures. Not everything is cut and dry in the Torah anymore, and unfortunately, we just don't have a lot of people teaching it to us. Even if you went to a Jewish Orthodox synagogue, you're probably not going to find them actually teaching the Torah. If you look over the supposed 613 laws, most of what they say are found in the Torah are not actual laws. But again, that's my opinion. Search it out for yourself.